You're listening to JTE Movie Thinks. Is that the title? Is that correct grammar? All right, we'll go with it. It's a show about movies and thinking. And now, here's your host, every man's hero, JTE.
Hey guys, what's going on? JT here with a brand new episode of JTE Movie Thinks. This is a very special episode. It's not like your usual episode. Usually on the show I bring somebody on and I say, hey, what's the last movie you watched from beginning to end? Well, this time it was a little more planned. Let me take you back to early 90s. JTE fell in love with a certain director from Hong Kong who goes by the name of John Woo. Mark Ellis will know him as the director of Hard Target.
Oh, he did other movies?
Yes, but his best films to me are the foreign films. And I said, you know what? It's playing in the theater at the New Beverly, which is owned by Quentin Tarantino now. I love this theater. It's a great place to go see for like $7-8. You can see 2 movies. I've seen Carlito's Way, Scarface, Karate Kid, Rocky, Over the Top. They just play great old movies, and it's a great way to see a movie that you love on the big screen. So I saw, man, they're showing The Killer. John Woo's The Killer, 1989, one of the best foreign films ever made, in my opinion, for entertainment. And I said, I got to bring some people to see this with me, and I got to record at JT Movie Things. I actually gave it to the fans. I said, fans, who should I bring? And I posted it on Schmoeville, and a lot of the fans, I got to say, no one really ran away with it. It was basically everyone has their fans at Schmoeville. Everyone was like, bring Makuga, bring Alicia. Bring Ellis, bring Harloff, bring Finstock, bring Cody, bring Kopser. But I decided with Mr. Mark Ellis. Hello, Mark.
Hi. Yeah. Good. No, I'm glad that at least a couple of the fans voted for me. I wish you had kept numbers as to who actually won and then what their excuse was for not being able to go to the movie and to see where me and your other guests placed.
Well, yeah, I'll get to that. And we got the Mr. Formerly known as Finstock, Tom Dagnino.
Hey, it's Dagnino.
Dagnino. Listen, I won't.
Did you really do that?
It's still Finstock to me, damn it.
Yeah, that's true. See, he gets a free pass on that.
It's still real to me, damn it.
The only thing I like, doing more than having my face between like a chick's ass cheeks is JT Movie Things.
Let me say another thing. You guys have done a lot of podcasts together, but I don't think we've ever just had Mark Ellis and Tom sit down on a podcast together if it wasn't the main show.
No, this is great.
So This is almost like I don't know, if it was Makuga and Ellis, I feel like we've seen that team up plenty of times.
We've seen that movie before.
We've seen that movie before. This is Robert De Niro, Charles Gordon, Midnight Run style.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's Grodin.
Grodin, yes.
So you're up for
two mispronunciations.
You gotta give the kid credit. He just keeps jacking shots. I mean, he is not shy about trying to pronounce
What do you
names.
think the over-under is? I think 10 before this podcast is over.
With the fact that we're talking about The Killer, which is a foreign film.
Yeah, wait till we get to the Chinese names.
There's a lot of
Big
tough
trouble.
names to pronounce.
And they're the ones I probably know the best because I'm weird like that. So I brought you guys to see The Killer, directed by John Woo. This movie came out in 1989, didn't hit the theaters, the film festival circuits till like early 90s, like 90, 91. And this became John Woo's kind of like, this was what America stood up and said, who is this guy?
It was calling card.
This was calling card. And more so even his next film, which is Hard Boiled, that movie is, I kind of call this John Woo's Reservoir Dogs. It's his low budget first kind of film that kind of broke him out. And then he got a budget and he made Hard Boiled. And then he was shipped to America. And unfortunately...
And never heard from again.
No, listen.
Would that make Hard Target his Jackie Brown?
Hard Target, and John Woo has said Hard Target was his first American film. And here's the difference between Hollywood and Hong Kong. Hong Kong says, here's your money, go make the movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Hollywood, here's your money, we're going to be over your shoulder the whole time. John Woo has said he had a producer over his shoulder the entire making of that movie.
John, we got to have a scene where Jean-Claude punches a snake.
Yeah. Exactly. So John Woo did not have a good time making Hard Target. I don't think it's a bad movie. I think it's a very entertaining movie in a campy way.
Well, 8th grade Mark Ellis loved Hard Target. Could not get enough of it because of all the reasons why 8th graders love watching action movies. You're like, oh, I want to be that guy, and I want to be able to do all those kicks, and I want to rescue a pretty girl. and the filmmaking style really overtook it because I'd never seen Van Damme in a movie that was that stylistic. I mean, you knew Van Damme could kick some ass, but with the way that John Woo shot that, all the slow motion stuff, that movie is probably only about 40 minutes long if there's no slow motion in it.
Yeah, there's only like actually 2 lines of dialogue in the whole movie.
And they're both from Uncle Boudreaux.
Walter Brimley?
Uncle Duvet.
Is it Wilford Brimley?
Wilford Brimley.
He's in that?
And
Plays
Hard
the
Target.
Cajun uncle, but when, because I'd never seen The Killer before.
Yes.
And had you seen The Killer?
No, we both. I have no idea.
And this is why I wanted to bring you guys to see this movie because
I'd heard about it though.
of course,
Yes.
I would hope so.
Because when I was a kid at Video Update, I wanted to know more about who this John Woo guy was, and then you see the poster for The Killer, and it's half awesome and it's half like Naked Gun, that scene when they're shooting at each other from like an extremely close range.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I was intrigued, and I finally got to see the movie.
Yeah. So
I loved it.
okay, well there you go. Last night we met up at the New Beverly Theater. Packed house, by the way.
Yeah.
Sold out.
I wasn't sure it was going to be like that because it was on St. Patrick's Day, and I thought maybe everyone's out drinking. They might want to go see a movie. So when it was sold out, I was like, this is why we live in LA. This is where all the film lovers go to watch movies.
Well, so St. Patrick's Day is a train wreck in LA. If you're in
That's
LA
true.
during St. Patrick's Day, get indoors
Yeah.
and stay in there. It's awful.
Yeah. I don't drink on days like
No.
that.
I mean,
I drink on every other day.
every
Every other day.
But
Not
see-
but like holidays. I don't drink on those.
I go to the dialysis clinic
Yeah.
on St. Patrick's Day.
I let
and
all
just
like
get
the losers.
refreshed.
They're not hardcore drinkers.
So that's the day you take off.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got to the theater, we sat down, we watched a movie, and for me, to see a movie which, now, like I said, I saw movies like Karate Kid, I saw Rocky there, I've seen Masters of the Universe there.
I seen a double feature Shampoo and Boogie Nights.
Shampoo, Boogie Nights. In movies like those, I was like, okay, that's great. I get to see them on the big screen. To see a film like The Killer, which is a foreign film, which not a lot of prints even came to the U.S., to actually come out here and be able to see in theaters, I never really thought it would happen. And the only reason why we did is because the films now playing in New Beverly are all 35 millimeter, all personally from Quentin Tarantino's collection.
Which is awesome, yeah, and
Yeah.
and that's the way to watch a movie like that. It felt like the style and the quality and the independent feel matched up with the way that it was presented in that theater. I mean, and watching it for the first time, I had such an appreciation for what he was able to do on a shoestring budget.
Yep.
And I always likened it to, it was like watching a stand-up comic. Like, I had the pleasure when I was a young comic coming up at the Comedy Store. I got to see Chris Rock take an hour of movie-related material and hone it into 10 minutes that he opened at the Oscars with when he was the host of the Oscars. So watching The Killer, it was like watching a comic go up and have all this raw material that he wanted to try out. And a lot of it worked. Some of it didn't work. And you see hallmarks to later films and later things that John Woo used over and over and over again. And it was neat to see those things on screen for the first time.
And a lot of like Wu-Tang Clan interludes that people have no idea where the dialogue comes from. It's pretty much this movie.
Oh,
like when he goes, he's a killer, but he's a slow assassin or whatever, and it's from like a Raekwon album, and the Enter the 36 Chamber album, and all these other things. And I was like, oh shit, now this is where I know this from now. So I liked it for that purpose as well.
John Woo, whether you know or not, even Chang Fat, is very influential when it comes to pop culture. For instance, this movie, The Killer, was a very big film as far as, I'm trying to think, I want to go like real deep in my John Woo history here. So one of the best things, I'm going to go off tangent here. We saw some really cool trailers for some old school Chang Fat movies.
I think they had a Hard Boiled trailer.
They had a Hard Boiled,
Yeah.
but they also showed John Woo's very first film, which was A Better Tomorrow.
That's right.
But they showed it for the sequel Part 2, which he also co-directed. That's a whole mess. But his first film was A Better Tomorrow. But that was like produced by Trey Hark. Trey Hark kind of co-directed it with him. The Killer is his first film where he was just kind of like, go do your thing. So, I'm trying to think. So, basically what I'm trying to say is Chang Fat is Clint Eastwood for John Woo. He grew up
his
watching
muse.
the Dirty Harry films. And he wanted to create his own Dirty Harry character. And he saw Chang Fat as being that perfect mix of suave, just straight up coolness, and something that could just intimidate somebody with just a look. And that's what John Woo does a lot in these films, is just a look from a certain actor. There's a lot of scenes in this movie where there's no dialogue.
He should have hired Brian Thompson from Cobra.
Yeah.
The acting is what impressed me the most about the movie. I mean, obviously the all the guns and all the violence and the explosions and stuff. It looks low budget. It looks good, but it's also, you can tell it's low budget. But a lot of the acting in here is pretty damn good, especially from Chow Yun-fat. I mean, you can see why he was able to cross over and be in American movies, and then he could elevate it to worldwide phenomenons, like a Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon,
Yep.
or like Anne and the King, or something like that, which wasn't a worldwide phenomenon, but it was a global movie.
Let's talk a little bit about what the action movie's about. So, without spoiling anything, we're just going to give you the basic plot. Basically, he plays a killer with a heart, which is something you see a lot these days
Nowadays,
in Hollywood. Basically, the movie opens up, he does a hit. He's killing some mafia guy in this like club bar.
Just another night at the office.
Yeah, night at the office. This girl's singing, and he seems to be, right away he's loving the music, but he's concentrating on his job. Things go a little crazy. He's taking dudes out left and right. She kind of gets in the way, and somehow he shoots the gun near her face, which like makes her blind.
It's shrapnel.
Was it a shrapnel? Is that what you think it was,
shrapnel.
or was it just a blast?
I'd go with shrapnel,
Yeah.
but I also don't know. I mean, later in the
Have you ever
movie,
been
they
that
keep
close to a gun before?
Yeah, that's
where,
true.
like,
Yeah.
I would get shot.
They also keep talking about her needing a cornea transplant. I
Yes.
didn't even know if that was the thing you could do. Like, I've had laser eye surgery. That's my
Yeah.
extent of ocular abilities.
I couldn't focus on anything when she was on screen but her lips. They were amazing.
They're amazing. So basically, he accidentally blinds her during this hit. He wraps a scarf around her because she's bleeding from the eyes. And because this killer has a conscience, he's like slowly goes back and starts like watching her from afar almost. And then he
Pretty
realizes...
easy to do when it's a blind chick.
Well, yeah. It's funny because I
Then
don't
he
think he knew
saves,
right
but
away.
he saves her
Yeah.
from getting raped by those two thugs.
Yeah, like he's one day she's leaving and he's like smoking a cigarette in the alley, just kind of watching
He
her
just
like a creep.
happens
Little
to be there.
creepy.
He just happens to
Yeah,
be
but
there.
here's the thing too: is like
There's a
it's
lot
like,
of happen to be there stuff going on in this movie.
It might not even been happen to be there. Like let's say that I liked this girl, right? And that
Yeah.
I was the killer, and I accidentally blinded her, and I felt bad, but I also wanted her to like me. I could just hire you
might hire-
two. So like in Kingpin,
Yeah.
I can just
Yeah.
hire you guys to
Yeah.
go rob her, and then I can just make sound effects, and you guys
Yeah.
can be like, and I'm like, don't worry, I beat off the thugs for you, and now we can hook up, right?
And this is one thing that John Woo, I will say, this movie concentrates more on the next character that comes in, who I believe in the movie's name is Danny.
Mm-hmm.
He's this cop who's kind of like...
Dumbo, his name is.
Well, yeah, that comes later, but in the actual movie, I believe his name is Danny. Was it Danny?
Yeah, it was Danny.
Danny, yeah.
Danny and Jeff. I
Danny
think,
and Jeff, yeah.
And Chang.
So he's this cop who feels the restrictions of being an officer and have to go by the rules all the time because he's dealing with these scumbags.
He seems like a mix of Danny Glover and Mel Gibson and Lethal
Yeah,
Weapon because
exactly.
he doesn't necessarily want to be the loose cannon, but he feels the constraints of he's not like just a wild, whatever, man, I got it. But once he locks in on this dude, that's his target. And so you see a lot of those hallmarks that, again, became staples of action movies, especially in the 90s, where it's like, if you keep doing, I'll have you off the case, you'll be running traffic
Yeah,
duty.
yeah.
But it wasn't as prevalent back then yet, so
Yeah.
it was more of an original idea.
And I love how the opening scene is the killer, something goes wrong, he blinds a girl during a hit. This is like, they're doing like a weapons deal, and a cop comes up on a motorcycle who doesn't realize he's undercover. They shoot the cop, and there's this great chase scene where he chases him onto a bus, and this guy grabs a hostage, and Danny just shoots him immediately. And the girl dies of a heart attack.
Yeah.
And he's like, what do you want me to do? He's like, he didn't know that was going to happen. And he's getting shit from his boss. And again, this comes to the point where he's like, listen, I'm just going to take these scumbags out. I got the shot. I'm going to take the shot. I'm not here to fill out your paperwork. I'm not going to worry about this,
That's why I like this movie.
Bullcrap.
That would have been cut out of an American movie because it wouldn't have furthered the story along somehow.
Okay.
And that's what I think about.
But it shows you how they're both kind of in similar situations. as
Right,
far
but
as-
the producers would be like, it's too slow. Let's get this out of here. Nobody cares nobody cares about that lady who had the heart attack. That's the way I feel about it.
Okay, I understand that.
Well, they use real guns on set, so she might have really helped them.
No, they
The strict laws,
definitely
every
use
gun is
guns.
real. Every
I
gun
know.
is real.
Yeah, well, they could afford prop guns over there. They're just like, get the real ones.
That girl was really blinded by
She was.
Yeah, everybody was really shot in this movie.
So this movie basically, I feel like Chang Fat falls in love with this girl really quickly. They don't really get into it.
Yeah,
the movie that really John Woo concentrated on is the relationship between this cop and this killer.
Yeah, he shoots her, then he saves her from the rape,
Yeah.
and then they're like sleeping together but don't show it.
Yeah.
And then they love each other and are going to run off to an island.
Where I thought
Within
this
about 5 minutes.
entire movie was going was that she was going to get her eyesight back because she does have a vision in her head of what the killer
Yeah,
looks
and then
like.
find out what
and then
he looks
she's
like.
going to find out that this is
Oh,
the
is that
killer.
what you
And
thought?
she's going to have to deal with the fact that this
Yeah.
was the guy, and then they're going to reconcile, everything's going to be happy. And the movie didn't do that. And I like when a movie
Yeah.
surprises you. And I thought that maybe it would be a rivalry between Danny and Jeff as opposed to them having, at first, a reluctant team up against evil. The enemy of my friend is the friend of my enemy. You guys know where I'm going with that. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, or something
Sure.
like that.
If you are a fan of John Woo, you've watched a lot of his films, he does have a certain he always kind of works on a relationship of two men at opposing forces. A Better Tomorrow, which his first film, was about a brother who's in the mafia and another brother who's a cop. And how even though they have a strained relationship, they still love each other, but they're on different sides of the law. In this movie, a killer, a cop, both kind of similar, but have different ways of seeing how things should be done. Hard Boiled is about an undercover cop and a straight-laced cop, and it even brought it a little bit to his American films. If you look at films like Broken Arrow, John Travolta's best friends with Christian Slater until he fucking flips the switch, and they're best friends and have to go against each other.
Yeah.
This is really a movie where you can just almost like be at a party, and there would be no sound in the movie, and you could just watch it and get the whole story.
He's a very visual filmmaker.
Yeah, it's very well done in that manner.
Yeah, one of my favorite scenes in this film. There's two scenes that I really love, but my favorite scene is I think when they start to realize that they're not as far apart as you might think when they both end up at this blind woman's place at the same time.
Yep.
Because Are
you talking about the house or the apartment?
The apartment, because Jeff cares about her, and he's been seeing her for a while, and then Danny thinks that there might be something that this killer has a heart, so maybe he's sticking around the woman who he injured, and his hunch ends up being right. They show up at the apartment at the same time. They have the guns on each other, and then she can't see, and so they introduce each other as Dumbo and Mickey Mouse. and if a movie with the limitations of a budget are that you can't have these huge, explosions and make everything look super realistic in an action scene, but you can always have humor in a really low-budget movie, and it was executed so well, especially in that scene.
Yeah, that would not fly in American movies. It was just too, people would just laugh at it, and then they'll be checked out. But this kind of movie, it worked. It just worked.
And this is a foreign film, and you got to remember when you watch a foreign film, especially from China, some of the drama is it's a little overcooked or overblown. It's a little bit heavier than you would see.
It's hard-boiled.
It almost feels like opera, like a soap opera at times.
They're really showing you.
Every gesture, every emotion is just amplified, and it worked for me. Like I saw this when I was like 15. I remember going through a magazine saying, "What are the top 25 greatest action movies of all time?" And I'm going through this magazine. I think it was Empire. Remember that movie?
Yeah.
That's still around these days.
Yeah.
I'm going through it. I'm like, oh, T2's got to be in here. Rambo First Blood better be in here. Die Hard better be in here.
Where's Hard Target?
And it's one of those things where I'm going through the magazine. I'm like, oh yeah, this is number 6. When I got to number 5, it said Hard Boiled. And I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Number 1, how have I never heard of this movie?
Yeah.
And I was like, and how the hell is it number 5? In my head, I thought, there's no way this thing could compete with Terminator.
Yeah.
T2. So I said, okay, I got to do my homework. I went to Suncoast, back when Suncoast was in the mall.
Suncoast was a great Saturday at the
And
mall.
I went to order Hard Boiled, and the guy at the counter said, if you're going to order this movie, you need to see The Killer also. And I said, okay. And it cost, I think it was like $35 to order each of them on VHS.
Yeah, back in those days, they made a killing off people.
Oh, yeah. And especially because it was specially ordered. They weren't, they had to order it from China. And when I got them, they were like...
That's what the guy told you.
No, listen. These things were like in giant VHS cases with all Chinese writing. There was no English on them.
And it came 6 months later.
Yeah. Exactly. I remember it took like a month to come.
Yeah, it went to 100 things in customs, and everybody bootlegs it down in downtown.
Why don't you come in the back with me, JT? Let's see if your video came yet.
Hey, what are we doing back here?
So anyway, after the legality's cleared up, you got to see the movie.
So yeah, I got to see the movies, and I remember showing them to my friends thinking, I am blown away. Because without ruining the ending, this does not have a Hollywood ending.
No.
I don't want to... We'll get to spoilers a little towards the very end of the show.
Yeah.
But one thing I realized, when you don't have the Hollywood producers behind your back telling you this is who needs to survive, this is what needs to happen. This movie was sent to test audiences in America. People would have been like, what the hell was that ending? Not that it was bad, it was just not what Hollywood would usually give you.
Especially because some of the action leading up to it, you know the beats. You're familiar with movies that maybe have borrowed from that premise that you saw before you saw The Killer. So you know that there's this guy who there's going to be an assassination attempt. He's probably going to pull it off. And that cop is going to start chasing after this guy. And then they're going to realize that, oh, you know what? I actually have more in common with this guy than I thought. From that point, the movie really, the last hour of this movie took a lot of turns that I wasn't expecting it to take. I was like, oh, this is where we have that final shootout scene. And then it wasn't. Then you go somewhere else, and it's like, oh, that guy's definitely going to eat it. And then he doesn't eat it at that scene.
Yeah, it throws you for a loop. It kept me on my toes.
Yeah,
it's very Scarface, Brian De Palma-y, and it's also
especially the music.
And it's also Wild Bunch Peckinpah, who's his guy.
Sam Peckinpah was a huge influence on John Woo. And if you watch The Wild Bunch. The last 10 minutes of that movie almost looks like a John Woo directed scene.
Yeah, he basically
it's slow motion.
It's a very
and machine
mimicking
guns.
thing.
Yeah.
And he directed this movie. He dedicated this movie to Scorsese.
Did he?
Yeah.
I believe so. Yeah, he's a huge Scorsese fan. His favorite movies are musicals. He grew up loving musicals. Wizard of Oz is his all-time favorite film.
He was gonna direct Moulin Rouge.
Was he really?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want. I'm glad he did it.
Nobody died in it. So
Nobody died. If you watch
Why's Nicole Kidman holding a gun?
If you watch Face Off, which I consider to be his best American film, there's a scene where Nicolas Cage in the drug house is getting blown up by cops, slow motion, and the song "Somewhere Over the Rainbow" is playing.
Really?
That was his homage to Wizard of Oz. And because he's such a fan of musicals, that's why his films feel like bullet ballets. And that term was born with John Woo. They started calling his movies bullet ballets because it's not just guys. I mean, to a point, it is guys just shooting machine guns left and right. But it feels like it has a flow almost like a musical, like a ballet. I mean, the gunshots at times almost feel like drum beats. Bam, 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 bam.
Yeah, it's the soundtrack to the movie.
Yeah.
Is the
gunshot.
Is the sound effects.
Yeah.
And there's so much, and I was really happy with how well the shootings looked. You know, because the actual like the blood, and it looked like it was actually happening like that.
it was believable.
The fight scenes looked good. The sound effects on the punches are like, okay, well, everybody knows that a punch doesn't sound like that.
Yeah.
But he's working with what he has, and it actually made me appreciate his American films more, like Face Off, which when you watch now, it feels so silly and over the top. But in that context, with what the movie that guy was trying to make, I think he pulled it off pretty well.
Yeah, the blood was real. I mean, he killed enough people.
I'll take these kind of,
The body count. Here's what the body count was.
What was the body count?
The body count was 120.
120?
It
Wow.
felt like 5,000.
You showed up on that set, you knew you probably weren't
Hard
working
Boiled, his next movie, had 307.
I was just
So
about to
more
say.
money, more killings. Do you know what the number one body count of all time is?
I do.
I do.
I saw the stats somewhere.
It's Die Hard 2.
No,
it's not. It's
Was the plane crash? It was Die Hard 2, I thought.
no.
Oh,
It's actually, this is actually number 2, and then there's
number.
number 1. Number 2 is Lord of the Rings.
That doesn't count. They're not half of my humans.
836 people dead.
Oh,
Number 1 is
don't-
obviously Hot Shots Part 2.
Oh, yeah, when
With
they're doing accounting.
45 million people died.
Shut up.
War. It's fantastic.
It was almost a plague.
So, Chow Yun-Fat, he exclusively worked with John Woo in the beginning. Better Tomorrow 2, Hard Boiled, The Killer. And he came to America, and his first film was The Replacement Killers, directed by Anton Fuqua.
With Mira Sorvino.
With
right?
Sorvino. And if you watch that movie, it is basically trying so hard to be a John Woo movie. It's him basically in a John Woo movie without John Woo, and that's why I don't think it's not a bad movie.
I remember a buzz around Chow Yun-Fat when that movie came out,
There
because
was
it's
a
like,
buzz.
no, there's this badass guy that's in all these cool Hong Kong action films, and now he's going to be this American action star. And a lot, almost like, because everybody knew who Jackie Chan was,
Yeah.
but when they did the remake of Rumble in the Bronx,
Oh,
or
Rumble in the
the
Bronx.
reissue or whatever,
Yeah.
that came out here, and everybody had
lost my
that
mind.
rediscovery of Jackie Chan. It felt a little bit like that's what that movie was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And The Replacement Killers wasn't that great, but then Chow Yun-Fat had a great career making both kinds of films.
But here's the thing, I feel like he
And a
got
hood pass.
he,
And a free hood pass.
he got the critical acclaim with Karate Tiger, but I don't really feel like he made a great American movie. He made The Corruptor with Mark Wahlberg. It's so.
I guess he had a good career.
Yeah, he had a career. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
And Bulletproof Monk with Sean Scott was horrible.
Yeah, that was
That
bad.
was trying to be like a huge movie. I don't even remember that movie. If you don't, you're better off not remembering it.
Well, Jet Li hit pretty hard
Weapon for
right
it.
after that,
Yeah.
because then Jet Li had some movies that it's
Yep.
like, oh no, Jet Li's the guy I want to see go against, Statham or whoever he was going
Yeah.
against at the time.
But Chow Yun
But
was...
Chow Yun-Fat's not a martial artist.
No,
He's
he's
different
not.
from these
Yeah.
guys. He's an actual good actor. I think he could act circles around Jet Li.
Yeah.
He's just in a whole nother league to me.
Yeah, Jet Li
And-
has like 2 lines in Expendables.
Yeah, that's true. Which is probably for the best.
Yeah.
So let me ask you something. So this being your first John Woo film, how often do you guys watch foreign films? First of all,
next to none.
Next to none?
Not for any other reason than just because I don't have time.
Okay.
And before I didn't have time, I didn't like to read.
Okay.
You know, and look, I mean, there's a lot of American movies that are coming out every week, and so those are the movies that I see for my job, and also because those are the movies that I just my brain gets saturated with because I see ads for them, I see trailers for them. So there's foreign films that I want to be able to see that I just don't have time for. I can't make them a priority even if I wanted to.
Now I feel like the subtitles to me, when I was in high school,
They don't bug me at all, by the way.
No, they don't bug me at all.
I don't like
either.
reading books. Subtitles do not bother me at all.
I'm totally fine with
If
subtitles.
the movie is good, you will forget they're even there.
We'll look at something like City of God or something, you know.
Oh yeah, from Brazil.
I mean, yeah, those are great. I should watch more foreign cinema. I think I would like it a lot more than American cinema.
Great
'Cause
date
really
move, too, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So you'd be like,
Why is that?
I don't know what's going on here. Be like, just shut it off and like, and deal.
Because you seem cultured. I mean, I don't know that the killer's
Yeah.
the one I take him to, but
Yeah.
you know. But yeah, I think it's a cool move for yourself too. I mean, I was excited just in the theater last night. There was a buzz that we were all seeing a different style movie than we're used to.
Yeah, and for me, like, even though I've seen this movie probably like 100 times, it's honestly been maybe 2 or 3 years since I revisited it. And to be able to see it on a 35mm, I don't care how many times you watch a movie, I love the movie Rocky. I've watched Rocky so many times growing up. The first time I saw it in the theater at ArcLight for AFI, and I actually got to meet Stallone beforehand, and I shook his hand. It was amazing. He came in, he talked. Adrian came in, talked a little bit about the movie, introduced Sly. They said no autographs for Sly. And then as he was leaving, 3 people jumped up with like stuff for him to sign. And I said, fuck this, this is my chance. So I ran up there, and as the lights were going down and the movie's about to start, I just go up to Sly. And he looks at me like, what do you want me to sign? And I just put my hand out. I was like, I just want to shake your hand, man. I'm a huge fan. I just want to say thank you. And he's like, shook my hand. He's like, thank you.
Tell your brother I said hi.
Yeah. To Frank.
Well, I could do that for you.
Yeah, you can do that for me.
I'll text him right now.
Seeing Rocky for the first time in a theater where you have nothing to distract you, no phone going off, no internet, you're just locked in.
It's a different experience.
It's a different experience. It's almost like watching it for the first time.
I never even saw Rocky Balboa in the theater. I didn't get a chance to see it until it came out. But I mean, obviously, I'll get to see Creed in the theater if I live that long, and I'm excited. I mean, it's an exciting thing anytime. And when I was at the New Beverly last night, I was looking at the schedule of upcoming movies because
some good stuff coming up.
Now they have Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction, which Q Dog might pop into that one, but it gave me a renewed appreciation for seeing the movies that I love on the big screen. I mean, Star Wars Celebration is coming up in April, and I don't know that they're doing all 6, that they're going to screen all 6 in a big screen environment. But if they do, I want to go see at least 3 out of those 6 movies.
It's pretty fantastic. I will see my favorite movies in theaters when they're there. Like there's a theater over in Santa Monica that plays stuff all the time. Look at Rocky Horror Picture Show. But talking about Rocky and segueing back into John Woo.
Okay.
He thinks the funniest man on the planet is Dolph Lundgren.
Who? John Woo?
John Woo.
Oh, they did a film together called Blackjack in Canada.
He brings him to his house, and they drink wine, and he lets Dolph comment on the TV, and John Woo laughs his ass off the whole time.
Really? And this is funny because when John Woo was at his height for me, like when I was in high school, he made this film called Blackjack, which was supposed to be a TV series starring starring Dolph Lundgren. Mm-hmm. And me and my friends were so excited, and we watched it, and it was pretty damn bad.
Really?
Because Woo just directed the pilot.
Maybe he was laughing at Dolph the whole time, and he couldn't direct anything.
There's a scene where Dolph Lundgren jumps off a second-story window onto a trampoline with 2 guns, jumps up off the trampoline back to the second floor, and shoots into the window.
Amazing. Sounds amazing.
It's ridiculously amazing.
That is one of the hallmarks I was talking about though is the dual wielding.
John Woo is the best.
He does
constantly.
dual wielding. He does sliding and shooting up from a hidden position. He does my favorite move of all time that he brought back in Hard Target and in Face Off is where there's some sort of canister holding gasoline and it gets thrown somewhere. And then you shoot that to amplify the fact that you're turning one bullet into a bunch of bullets. And he actually does something so inventive in here that I'd never seen before when he does something that I won't mention, but it's a really neat maneuver. And then the pigeons, too.
Oh, the pigeons.
He likes to film birds and use those as metaphors.
Slow motion. Mission Impossible 2, Face Off.
There's a really good scene
Very slow motion.
in this movie where they're pulling up in a car, and then these dudes just like jump out and
Yeah.
like do like tuck and rolls,
Tuck and
then
rolls,
stand
and
up
they're
and
shooting.
run
Yeah.
with guns. Yeah, it was sick.
It's how I had gunfights when I was a kid with
Yes.
the plastic toys in my backyard. Is you do the rolls, you know, you do the G.I. Joe crawl, you crouch down, you jump like sideways, and you land as you're trying to hit
Yeah.
that one shot.
It's the coolest of the cool, man.
This movie, when I was trying to think when I was watching this movie, like how 12-year-old Mark Ellis would react to this, and parts of me, look, to be honest, there's some unintentional comedy in the movie now.
Exactly.
Especially sometimes the dudes look at each other and it's like, are you falling in love with this guy?
Yeah.
Or are you
This-
just trying to study him or what's going on? But a lot of it, I think I would have left that theater wanting to make a movie
Yeah.
and wanting to go build a fort and have toy gunfights.
Absolutely. I think what happens is, as Americans, like these little American thug gangsters have like Scarface above their, their bed, pictures and dolls and stuff like that. I think the little Hong Kong kids probably have this movie.
Oh, Chow Yun-Fat's first film with John Woo, Better Tomorrow, which was a huge hit in Hong Kong. Chow Yun-Fat's look in that movie is a long trench coat, aviator sunglasses, and instead of a toothpick, a match. When that movie came out in Hong Kong, like 1986, every gangster wannabe kid in Hong Kong was wearing that outfit. There's even Jet Li movies and Leon the Professional. There's homages to that look that Chow Yun-Fat donned in that movie. As we're talking about Quentin Tarantino, who owns the New
Sounds a
Beverly
little like
Theater.
Cobra too.
Yeah, totally Cobra. I think
Yeah.
Cobra probably took a little bit from it.
What year was Cobra? 86. They're both 86.
Oh yeah,
weren't
maybe
they?
you're right. Well, actually, I'll have to look up the year.
Well,
because they both had the match. I'm wondering which one came first.
I probably bet the Cobra did.
All right, we'll give this a
When
slide.
in doubt.
Just
Look
because
aside.
the Chinese reputation,
Now, let me say,
Is what?
bootlegging and copying.
as Tarantino is a huge fan of Hong Kong films, Reservoir Dogs is almost a remake of a Chow Yun-Fat film called City of Fire, directed by Ringo Lam. It's literally, if you watch Reservoir Dogs and City of Fire, it's almost the same story.
Really?
Same beats. And a lot of people said to Tarantino, you kind of just remade City of Fire, but you did it in your own way. And he kind of shook that off, said, I was inspired by it, I didn't rip it off. In A Better Tomorrow 2, all four guys show up in suits with skinny ties when they go attack the mansion. The same exact look that the Reservoir Dog guys had.
Movies,
Tarantino loves taking from
movies
Hong
are
Kong
the
cinema.
cloudiest of art forms when it comes to that, because when you look at music, you can cover somebody's song and you can make it your own, and it's totally cool. And,
Correct.
And that stand up, there's nothing. You're not allowed to take anybody else's joke at all. You can't even do similar premises if you're on the same show. That's not cool.
Yep.
With movies, it's such a fine line with what is stealing and what is, oh no, I was inspired by.
Yeah.
And even like, I know they came out around the same time, but Die Hard 2, there's a scene where they're shooting and there's a bunch of scaffolding around in the middle of the movie, looked a lot like the end church scene.
I know what you're talking about.
There's a couple different parts. There's some legs getting
Yep.
shot up. There's a guy up on something that's being built, falling over. Looked a lot like that.
And that was 1990.
That was 1991.
That's
Yeah.
the thing with film. It's a totally different thing, like you're saying. There's copying styles and all these other things, and I get that. And Tarantino, I think, does that well. And he always says, like, "Hey, I take from these guys' movies all the time." And I think it's like you said, it's paying homage to it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think some people might sit back and be like, "This motherfucker." You know what I mean?
You think so?
I mean,
Well, if he didn't have the career that he ended up having, which he made a lot of, very good, successful films.
Mission Impossible 2 was by far his most successful film.
When I saw Mission Impossible 2, I convinced myself that I liked it, and I haven't seen the whole thing in a long time.
Go back and watch it now you've seen The Killer.
Yeah.
And you will be like, holy shit. John Woo, it'll connect
I gotta
with you
see
more.
that movie again. I mean, if nothing else, that Tom Cruise with long hair, whew, that'll make you think twice
Yeah.
about
Yeah,
it.
it was Last Samurai stuff.
And again, that movie, it's about the relationship between him and the girl, but it's also between the relationship of him and his friend, who was a part of Mission Impossible, who kind of broke off and then know each other. He always has these relationships with these guys. It's something to do with brotherhood, and it's something that I think that doesn't always. All right, you know what? Let's get into spoilers real quick, because something I want to say is going to kind of go into spoilers. So, guys, if you have not seen The Killer, do yourself a favor, go rent it, go buy it. I own it on Blu-ray along with Hard Boiled. Actually, I have every John Woo movie basically on some sort of DVD or
That's
Bluray.
Why you get laid every night.
Exactly, with Asian girls. I just show them my John Woo collection.
They're like, "Oh, John Woo."
What would you give me a last word on this movie, Finstock? What was your overall thoughts on this film?
Well, John Woo's never owned a car before either. He doesn't own one now and never owned one before.
He's also never fired a weapon.
Yeah, that's true too.
He also wears pants. I don't have a good John Woo fashion.
You know, I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah, I was worried because I was worried how you were going to take it.
Because I'm like I said, I like Rocky, I like inspirational movies. I thought it was great. I thought it was fantastic. I liked the action. I thought it was different. And still cutting, and I think it's still cutting edge from what it is. You know, whatever 25 years ago, whatever it was. Was it 25? About 25?
It's about that, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was
getting old,
fantastic.
boys.
I thought it was fantastic. I'd love to see Hard Boiled.
Yeah, well, if Hard Boiled comes there, we will do another.
It was
episode.
one of the best action movies I've seen in, I don't know.
Also,
10 years.
You could see how movies like The Raid 2 might kind of takes a little John Woo inspiration.
Absolutely, yeah. And with the advances that filmmaking has done, when you can do as many takes as you want, and it's cheaper to do that. You don't have to shoot on film, and it's not, okay, we need to get this take here. So if the guy doesn't roll out of the car perfectly, we're going to have to roll with it. So what this movie screams to me is the potential that this guy had and that he executed with bigger budgets in later films. So if I compare it to a sports analogy, this is like a season when the football team went 9-7, or maybe even 10-6, and got into the wild card, and they made the playoffs. They might have lost that playoff game, but that was the one. That was the season that launched them as a force to be reckoned with for years to come in that division.
I agree. I also think that when you watch,
Hard Target's when he won the Super Bowl.
Well, yeah, obviously. No, Face Off. He worked with Travolta. Who knows what happened on that?
That was the second trophy.
Yeah. No, I think it's refreshing to watch this kind of film, and if you can get past the cheesy dialogue here and there, and that one guy kills like 75 people coming at him from every direction
without reloading,
without really getting hit, and get over the novelty of that's unrealistic.
They did get hit a couple times.
True, but still.
But they're like Supermen.
Yeah,
they get hit and they shake it off.
And they shake it off. So if you can get past the fact that somebody can kill, like I said, 150 people without really getting shot and out in the open and all these other things. Or how people are so dumb they can just walk in the door and just keep popping them every single 5 seconds.
It's like a video game.
Maybe we don't want to go there anymore.
Yeah.
Just the sheer amount of people that are in Wang's pocket, the bad guy. That just show up at the church. That are just like, hey, we're all going to the church, and it's like 1,000 people.
It's like everybody go through the front door.
They're not sneaking.
And then just
they're running in like.
Let him kill 45,000 people, so he hopefully runs out of ammo, and then we're gonna come.
Would Wang have noticed if one dude was like, I think I'm gonna get killed, so I'm gonna sit this one out?
Yeah, I'm gonna drive.
I think they did.
Get out of here.
All right,
I also do think that though.
So
if you can get past that, if you can get past the unrealistic angles,
and I think it has to do with age a little bit too.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And you give it a pass because again, it's like when you see a movie like The Gunman, right, with Sean Penn, and they have every opportunity to set up the way that they want to make this movie, and you still walk out with the same kind of complaints, like really the bullets never hit these people, and in The Killer. You have to set up this shot, and you have 1 or 2 chances to do it. And so, if it looks like he probably should have hit him, they probably would have done it a little differently if they could. So you give it a little bit of a pass.
Yeah, I'm desensitized on that kind of stuff because I've seen every Rambo where he kills fucking whole villages of people with one rocket launcher.
Well, let's get into spoilers because we gotta close the episode soon. So spoilers from here on out, guys, for The Killer. Go check it out if you haven't seen it. It's amazing. I love it. There. Spoiler time. All right, so this movie does not have a happy ending. And this is one of the things that really shocked me as a young film goer. I've seen, it got to the point where I've just seen every action movie as a 15-year-old. I've seen every Rocky Rambo. I've seen every Stallone, Schwarzenegger, Van Damme, Seagal. And to see, they set it up where this girl, her eyes, they're fading fast. As the movie's going, she's getting less and less. And Chowing Fat is telling Danny, he's like, listen, if something happens to me, you make sure you take my money, you get her eyes fixed, and if you have to use my eyes, even if I get
give her my corneas.
Give her my corneas. If I die, you give her my damn eyes, okay? And the last scene is this great, standoff between the two the cop, Danny the killer, and what's this guy, Yang? Yeah,
Wang.
Wang, fucking the ultimate bad guy.
Yeah.
And he's got Jenny, who's the girl's going blind, and he's put your guns down, and he knows that he's gonna get shot when he puts the gun down. And then Danny says, "Don't forget, there's always a friend."
I like the way they did
that. A friend always
that,
has your back. He has a gun tucked in his back.
Yeah.
So they put their guns down. Immediately, Wang shoots the killer right in the the stomach.
Yeah.
As he falls back, he grabs the gun, falls down, grabs another gun somehow, and goes bam, 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 bam. Hits Wang. Wang goes down, pulls out two guns. They're just trading shots at each other. And apparently, like, two shots go right into his eyes.
Right into his eyes.
Right into his fucking... His eyes are basically...
Proton torpedo.
Obviously.
Yeah. And he goes down in just pure pain. He's dying. He's withering on the floor. This dude starts running. Danny's, like, in shock that the killer's eyes have been blown out. And he goes after Wang because he's like, I gotta kill this son of a bitch. And the saddest scene is Jenny, who's basically blind at this point, is screaming
and
for
deaf
his name.
because all the gunshots.
Yeah.
Yes.
She's crawling, saying, Jeff, you know, the killer's name.
Sex starved.
And he, in his last few moments of life, is just crawling, and they crawl right past each other.
They can't find each other.
And then there's this great scene where John Woo just keeps the camera on Chang Fat, where you still see he's alive, and then you just see his body. The life just leaves his body.
You can see the life leave the body.
He just goes down.
Yeah, what my and again, I mean, I think that
How did you react to this? That's what I want to say.
Well, actually, my first reaction was, why did he wait until he was falling back, having been shot, to just start shooting? Like why didn't because she's still being... It was in
slow motion, though.
Yeah, but
I think it happened all at once.
She's still being held by the guy. So wouldn't you rather have all your faculties and not be shot in the stomach when you try to take that really narrow shot?
I think he was waiting to see what Wang's next move was.
He was just...
And Wang just took no time.
I mean, yeah, regardless of that, I think that I loved that there was the back that the other dude that Dumbo had the gun in his back, and that he used it, and that felt very metaphorical to me. And then them crawling and not able to find each other. It's like, man, if you just stopped killing and you guys just ran away earlier, you could have blinded yourself, given her your corneas, and at least one of you can see.
And I think also at the end when they have Wang surrounded by the cops, and then Danny comes up. And unlike Lethal Weapon, where the what's his name had the gun in there.
At this point, Wang's like, taking me into custody,
right?
Because he knows that Danny wants to just put a bullet in him. So
Correct.
he's running to the cops. He's running to the cops like, take me in custody, take me in custody.
Because he knows Danny's gonna kill him, and that's exactly what Danny does. That does not fly in American movies.
No, never.
Wang would have to pull a gun out of his ass or something like that.
Lethal Weapon style.
Something along those lines where it's the shooting would be vindicated.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is just plain old revenge.
Right. It was plain old. He was like, you know what? You killed everybody here, and I don't care where I'm going. I could probably get off when they go inside and see 40,000 bodies in there.
And let's not forget, at this point, Danny's been all about the letter of the law. Even though he hates it, and there's times where he even tells the killer, I wish I could do the things you do.
Yeah.
I have to uphold the law.
Yeah.
At this point, after he's seen what's happened, he's pushed beyond that point.
I was really happy when he shot him.
Yeah, I think
because I would do the same thing.
But at the same time, it's not a happy ending, because that's what I loved about it. It's not the Hollywood ending. The literally last scene is him saying, my friend, crying as he just shot Wang, my friend. And then the cuts slowly fades out, and then it cuts to a shot of Chang Fat playing like the saddest harmonica song in the window, and I was like,
I would have ended it. If I was Danny, I would have went into the church after I killed Wang, grabbed the dude, and took his corneas out, and then gave him to Jenny. There's a lot of people with a lot of corneas.
I'm sure.
There.
I like the only thing I could hope. I'm hoping at least she got her corneas fixed. We don't know.
She did. She's a singer. Again.
There, like Bob said, there's a lot of eyeballs that belong to dead people.
Yeah, that
could
be.
You can try them on. It's like you're trying on shoes.
Look at these guys' eyes. There was like hazel green. It's perfect.
There's a little more bluish.
Yeah.
There were plenty of bodies around. That was for sure.
Yeah.
But that's one thing that stuck out to me when I saw this movie as a high school kid. Used to seeing the good guy win all the time. I'm used to getting the girl, saving the day. To see the hero die, lose.
Yeah.
To have a sad ending. Well, probably not the best. You're not feeling the best after the movie, but at least I'm feeling something, and it's something unexpected. And that's really when I started watching a lot of foreign films. And a lot of foreign films, you don't know what's going to happen at the end.
You get
and
the real
I love
life.
that.
You get real life of it all. I think we need more of it.
I totally agree.
Cinema, but we won't do it. We'll toe that line with like a Breaking Bad, where the guy is a meth dealer. And he gets to kill people because he has cancer and things like that. But we won't do blatant stuff like this.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
And one thing, here's another homage to John Woo, actually, Nicolas Cage in Face Off. I love the opening of that movie, by the way.
Yeah.
He assassinates Travolta's son by shooting Travolta. And if you look at Nicolas Cage in that opening scene of Face Off, he looks exactly like Chow Yun-fat looked when he assassinated the mayor and the killer. Mustache.
Oh yeah, Chow Yun did kill the Prime Minister of Malaysia.
It's a great... And
Zoolander stole that shot from him.
And Nicolas Cage is the one that brought up to John Woo, said, I want to have the mustache just like Chow Yun-fat and the killer. I want to be able to homage to the killer. And John Woo was like, yeah, sure.
That was back when Nicolas Cage could make a demand on the director.
Yeah.
The director would be like, yeah, it sounds like a good idea.
Now he's like, can I get a pizza? And I'm like, fuck no.
And they also made another movie together called Wind Talkers, which is not a bad movie, but not a great movie.
Yeah.
Stupid name.
Well, this movie definitely overall made me want to revisit John Woo's catalog and both to see the films that I have seen. I mean, I have Hard Target Night every Tuesday at my place
And you
anyway.
see Broken Arrow Face Off.
I don't need to see Broken Arrow again. I've seen that.
You don't
enough.
like Broken Arrow?
I did not have to see
I
that
love
again.
Broken Arrow.
But
I'm sorry.
as great as Howie Long is, and Samantha Mathis.
Yeah, and Christian Slater.
But, all right, so Mission Impossible 2, I would recommend. A lot of people get that movie flack.
I'm going to do Mission
but
Impossible
it's
2 again.
Definitely
I'm
a
going to
John
do Face Off again. Never seen Wind Talkers.
Okay.
So
I'm
gonna get
definitely
that.
do Hard Boiled.
And Hard Boiled.
Listen, we will do Hard Boiled, whether it's New
Yeah.
Beverly or
We'll
we have
come
to
back
just
and
come
we'll
back
come back and do the
and
Hard Boiled.
watch it, and we will do another episode about Hard Boiled. A lot of people freak out about True Detective and these movies like Gravity that do one shot. He did it with Hard Boiled, where the beginning scene starts at the first floor of a hospital, and they go through the whole first floor, shoot everybody, and they go to the elevator to the second floor, and they clear that whole floor out. It's a 2-floor gunfight, one shot, and it's amazing.
A lot of nervous extras on that second floor.
Children of Men.
I feel like you guys have got an appetizer with the killer, and the main course will be Hard Boiled.
Yeah, I want to see more people die.
These were pretty good Southwestern egg rolls, though.
Yeah.
All right, guys, so that's going to do it for the episode. JT Movie thinks this was a special episode. I want to thank you guys for actually agreeing to do this. I love showing people new movies, especially when it's something that I love as much as The Killer. So I'm glad you guys enjoyed the movie.
Yeah, thanks for getting me a Diet Coke.
Yeah.
He walked in like a dad. He was like...
He's got me Skittles.
Yeah, it was like right after the lights went down and they were about to run, 'cause they run old cartoons and stuff before the movie.
Yeah, yeah.
And so the first cartoon started, and he's standing there like Vince and I we're just laughing, giggling, and then you're like, who had the Diet Coke? who had the stop talking? Who
Thanks,
had
Dad.
the popcorn?
I wanted, like, at this point, I've seen the movie so many times, I wanted you guys to have the best viewing experience possible.
Well, we
Because you
did.
were about to experience a great
Yes,
movie, in my
thank you
opinion.
very much.
Some guy in front of
All
me,
right,
big
so
head.
Ellis, tell them where they can find you. I'm sure everybody knows.
At Twitter and Instagram is at 5150 Ellis, and tour dates for stand-up is markellislive.com.
The artist formerly known as Finstock now goes by Tom.
Yeah, man. At Bob Finstock on Twitter.
Yep.
Clearly. You can
Still
find,
alive somewhere.
Yeah, you can find me in Beverly Hills a lot on the street.
You can
trolling.
find the three of us playing hoops at
Yeah.
Santa
Playing
Monica. What's the name of the park? The
Plumber.
Plumber Park. Yeah.
Christopher Plummer owned it. Sold it.
All right, guys.
And Box Office Breakdown,
Yeah, Boxes Breakdown.
Every
Me and
Monday.
Finstock. We're always covering the top movies of the weekend. Catch us on the main show every Thursday, 6 to 8 o'clock on the Schmoes Know channel.
At Schmoes Know.
At Schmoes Know. It's a 2-hour podcast. We cover everything about movies. It's awesome. Come hang out with us. Do me a favor, guys, if you're listening to us on iTunes, give me a 5-star rating if you feel like I gave you a 5-star podcast. And if you didn't, I will shoot your eyes out with 2 9mm.
There's no cornea surgery available.
Exactly. All right, guys, thanks a lot for listening, and we'll see you next week for another episode of JT Movie Things. Stay tuned. Hard Boiled will come.